Hello and welcome. Good morning, good afternoon. Thank you for joining our webinar about the NiCE VMware vSphere Management Pack today. I'm especially proud for this release today and this release webinar because it has taken years, really a number of years to become alive. And yeah, we have great content to go ahead. And I announce this as also as a walkthrough. So there will be a lot of demos in the next 45 to 60 minutes. And it's a new area of VMware monitoring actually at NiCE. So that's I also look forward to your questions. This is as all our webinars recorded, but if you have any questions, please go to the Q&A area and put in your questions, and I or one of my team members here will take them as we go on, or we take them in the Q&A session at the end. So with that, again, I see a lot of familiar names here coming into the webinar, and happy to have such a big crowd here today for this webinar. And but let's not wait any longer, and then let's get started. First, this is basically a new major release, so to say. So we have been working on the VMware management pack and the monitoring of VMware for about a bit over 10 years now. It's 2016 when we started with this. So there have been earlier versions, but 2016 was basically the 5 version that was released, and now 10 years later, basically we have the version 6 available. So and it took really like 5 years of development work, as it doesn't seem. You might wonder what have you been doing for the existing product, the 5 version. So actually version 6 was developed alongside version 5. So it's basically a parallel development while we basically building up a new architecture and a new code basis, which then, like all nice products, take time to mature and develop. So, and all the learnings, or many of the learnings of earlier version like 5 have been going into 6. So, and we also decided to give this basically a bit of a new name. So it's also one of the learnings. Basically, we call this NiCE VMware vSphere Management Pack. While the previous one was version 5 is called NiCE VMware Management Pack. We added the vSphere part as it basically describes the suite of products from VMware / Broadcom that deal about the virtualization hypervisor layer. Because we had some requesting us, well, does the VMware Management Pack support, for example, virtual network monitoring or other components that VMware has in their portfolio? And no, this is purely vSphere, and it has vSAN in there, which is one addition. We'll come to that a bit later, but that's also part of the previous release. So again, as I mentioned, we have a new code basis and a new architecture. Then the next slide, I will explain a bit what the new architecture looks like, and also tell you a bit the background why we did this change. We focus really on an ease of use perspective and performance. And I know there's been pain points for customers, especially with larger environments. So for those who are on the call, just to get you a bit of a estimation. So we have anything from like 200 VMs up to like close to 10,000 VMs in monitoring at a single customer. So, and if you get like more like to above 5, 6, 7,000 VMs, we also talk about like close to 1,000 ESXi hosts eventually. So, and then across different vCenters. So that gives a challenge of basically taming the zoo and making all the configuration right. So for especially for those use cases, we have adapted the ease of use perspective and as well the performance. There is the point of about the discovery challenge, right? All of us here on the call are familiar with SCOM, and we know it takes time to discover something. So if a new virtual machine is there, it will take time to appear. So, or has taken in previous version time to appear, because we have a discovery cycle. So we have a discovery rule that runs every whatever number of seconds, like once an hour. And the Microsoft recommendation is basically don't run this more often than 4 hours, because it basically creates new relations in the model SCOM, and will consume an extra amount of performance on that. So we actually turned this a bit around. I'll talk about how we solved it in this release now to actually have a quick and fast discovery. And last but not least, there's been always a security consideration, because VMware has been exposed to issues where basically somebody could do things with the infrastructure that were not supposed to happen. So there are vulnerabilities. So it's actually, VMware has published like guidelines how to lock down the environment, and we basically put monitors on top of that to ensure your security switches are turned on. You want to have turned on, and at least that the recommended switches are switched on. So to make the slide a bit bigger, I will actually switch off the video for a moment so it gets a bit larger on your screen and continue. So basically what is in there? So the first thing, let's start with this discovery. So what we have changed for that. So key point is there, we have not like this standard schedule discovery anymore, but we have an event-based discovery. So we basically listen to the events that are coming in from the vSphere environment. So connection to the vCenter basically. And if we, for example, get the information by an event, there's a new virtual machine in there, and then basically the new virtual machine is added to the SCOM environment as an object immediately. So obviously there might be larger changes, like for example, you're adding a new ESXi host, and then at once we have like let's take 100 virtual machines that I added. So obviously then a lot of data comes in there. So with all the subcomponents of the virtual machines, like network devices, file shares, and so on. Then we have like basically different data sets that get into the discovery. So we roll it like in an interval of 5 minutes, basically into the SCOM environment. So this is basically the event-based discovery, which you will see it's quick and fast. So you don't need to wait. Basically, if even a virtual machine moved like from one ESXi system to another with vMotion, or if you're using fault-tolerant HA, so that's very quickly now. It really reflects in SCOM the environment that you have on your vSphere environment. We have the complete list of monitoring like you've been used from previous version. There's no shortage of that. So actually we have added even more monitors, especially for ESXi hosts, because ESXi host is really the one you want to monitor. If there's one VM sure running high on CPU, yes, you get an alert and you want to monitor that. But obviously it's not as critical if a ESXi host loses network connectivity, or it's really like having a hardware issue, or it's running hot. So there's really this focus even more on the ESXi hosts. We have the clusters with vCHA, where we do monitor the resource utilization within the clusters, and also the underlying components of that, like distributed network switches, data stores, and so on. Everything flows into the data center. So data center is an essential part. So we basically have at a customer typically a number of data centers, can be like even like 50 or 100 data centers. And then we basically have this as an entry point and add the hosts and virtual machines and data stores basically into the scope of this data center. You will show this, we'll see this in a moment in the live demo. We do monitor the networks, the switches, and as well the sensors, which mean basically the temperature sensors, the fan speed, and if you're using the current VMware management pack, you know those information that also comes obviously in the version 6. Host storage, and there are other additional things like folders, for example, we have added. Some more things have been added. There's not really something that is missing. I have some small gaps I'll talk about later, but they're not really used by the broader customer base. The next item is the vCenter appliance. So obviously the appliance, which is running on either one of the ESXi hosts or separately, is not possible to monitor via the standard API. So we're using in the back the SOAP-based API for vSphere, and that needs a separate API. So we have added that for the vCenter appliance monitoring. And vSAN is also in there as you used before, but I mentioned it because there was an earlier version, which was the version 6.0. So that version 6.0 was released in December last year, but it was a controlled release and only given to a certain set of selected customers. So basically to not bring the whole solution right in the market, but basically pick some. And the 6.1 is now the GA release, the general available release to all customers that require monitoring of the vSphere environment with SCOM. We have also added a filtering. Obviously, you have sometimes hosts you don't need to monitor or you don't want to monitor, so you can exclude them basically. You have virtual machines and sensors you can exclude or add. So there are a lot of software sensors, for example, also included, so but you can exclude them if you like. Also certain virtual machines that don't need to be in there for monitoring, you can exclude. And all these this information or this configuration is now part of the SCOM console, so which is the biggest change in usability. But let's talk about a bit the architecture, which is underneath the whole management pack. So, and it has entirely changed because now it's a complete native management pack. So when you have the installer package, basically you install it, you have just like a single management pack bundle, an MPB file. Everything is contained in that. So you don't need, as in the past, have a separate service. We had like a service that was running and interacting with WMI. All that is gone. That's part of the 5 release. So, but in the end here, so we have the monitoring module, which is basically part of the health service. So as part of the health service, we do actually do all the monitoring. We have the client included there, which builds the connection to the vCenter. And we also do have include the coordination between the virtual center REST API, for example, for the monitoring of the vSAN part, and also the API that monitors the vCenter appliance, which is also in there. So, which is the there's a big advantage here. So which you see right now is like the high availability piece. So we had high availability also in version 5, but it basically was like a redundant collection, because if you remember, we had on 5 we have 2 management servers, both built the connection to the vCenter, connect and collect the data, and if one management server goes out of service, the data is present on the other management server. However, still there was basically the extra load on the API, which basically brought in the data to the other management service WMI repository. Now we have like both management servers in one monitoring resource pool, and this resource pool is responsible to decide which of the management servers is active to collect the data. And this data is collected per VMware data center. So each VMware data center has its own thread, and its own connection. So it also balances a bit across the resource pool. If you want to bring this one step further and your environment grows even more, then you can actually go to a combined scenario with more load balancing. In this environment, you have like 2 resource pools now. So one resource pool, and let me just pick a pointer here, you can go over this. So we have here on the left side resource pool A, and in this we have a number of data centers assigned to that, and we have another resource pool where we also have a number of data centers assigned to that. In all together, we have 4 management servers basically in here, and the connection go all to one vCenter, or there could be also multiple vCenters. So obviously, if you have like 3, 4, 5 vCenters, you can also combine that in the same way. So you can use one resource pool for 2 vCenters or also a single one. So this basically gives you the whole capability of load balancing and high availability, and also ensures you can scale across multiple management servers. Again, as some people joined late, feel free to ask questions in the Q&A area. I will next go a bit about what has changed on the usability part. As you know, in the past, we had this configuration utility you had to use to configure your connection. Now that's integrated into the administration console. So the connection configuration, basically providing your vCenter, URL, your username and password, all that is handled within SCOM. The onboarding is wizard driven, and I will also show that in a demo in a moment. And then obviously we have the multiple vCenter support and the load balancing that is configured basically in the same dialog in the administration console based on the architecture I just showed you. Cool. Okay, so let's go on and talk a bit about an additional tool we have entirely revamped. Some of you have came across or have used this tool. It's basically infrastructure estimation tool. The biggest challenge we have seen over the last year is the sizing. Because of the pure amount of objects you have and the workflows that are running, you want to make sure you size the SCOM environment or your monitoring according to your overall vSphere environment. So if you have 200 VM, if you have 1,000 VMs, that's all not a problem. Even if you go into 2,000 VMs, we have not a problem. But as soon as you go beyond that, things get tricky. So because you have a lot of workflows running, you have a lot of objects in SCOM, so actually you want to make sure you size this correctly. Also, you want to make sure we have the supported version on there. So with that, this is a standalone tool. It comes with a standalone installer. It is a very simple file, basically, you can place on the system, and this binary you can execute, connect to the virtual center. It will probe the connection. It will not store anything. It will just like be a one-time use tool to do basically a inventory of the entire vSphere estate you have, and then give in the end some recommendation, basically what you can use from a sizing perspective. So this gives you first here the number of object counts. So this is a small environment, but you see we have like a number of folders. We have 19 virtual machines. We have one host. So this is a very small environment, but this might go up to the hundreds or even thousands of objects that go in here and basically give you that information. And based on that information, you can go to the documentation and calculate the number of management servers that are basically required for that. So important item here to mention it. We also decided to go one step further as earlier versions of vSphere. So vSphere 7 and 6 are end of life. We're supporting that only with the support supported version from Broadcom VMware, which is 8.01 and later. So and it's built on the latest REST API. So like the one which been there around for many years is still there, still supported. It will be supported, but basically going forward at one point, things are moving more into the new REST-based API from VMware. So we basically built this tool already on the new APIs. So that gives a bit of a background onto this estimation tool. So we also learned that like the management pack does have a license, as you know, so it's the NiCE license for the management pack licensing. So and nothing has changed. Everything is basically from the perspective like how you purchase the product, the price, everything is unchanged. So it's one socket. We're not doing this per core. We're sticking to a socket-based prices, and the price is also the same. So, and the only thing that has changed is that the license key is basically locked against the management group now. In the past, we had locked this basically to the management server, but obviously that causes sometimes issue if you add and remove management servers, or if you have multiple servers. So that was a bit of a pain, always updating the license keys for that. So now you have one key that is locked to the management group and all the sockets that are monitored by that group. So it makes things a lot easier with that. However, the compliance is more difficult to track because the sockets are moving all over the management group, and there's not a single place that can be checked or enforced, so to say. So we have a compliance out of compliance monitor, which calculates all the sockets across the group. And in case you're having more sockets assigned to the management group than your license allows, you will get a warning to inform you about that. So, and also if there's a renewal, they typically check a report on that. So it's basically to make this as easy as possible and to not put any complication into the way with the licensing. Whilst we have completely revamped the product, there's also a new quick start guide, there's a new reference guide, and there are also the release notes. These are the main document sets that come with the product. There will be more also white papers that come later. So, but altogether, we're adding more and more documentation sets. So, but that's the basic starting set. The product is still, as it always, you should take it as an IT professional and bring it in your environment without any help from us. So that's our idea. So we have written these manuals in a way that you can start and work with them. However, obviously, if you have questions, you always can contact our support or solutions sales. They will always be happy to help you. So, but still, the idea is to have this as much as you do it on your own, basically. So let's look at the support side. What is supported? So first of all, I want to mention like the VMware MP 5.8, which is here at the bottom, is still supported and will be supported for another 2 years. So this is not going away. So, and we have the 6.1 version, which is basically the new track or the new architecture release train, which just enters the market and will be supported going forward the same way as the version 5.8. Obviously, customer can migrate as when as they want, but still they can also remain on 5.8. There's no problem. It's going to be still fully supported. This is especially as we decided to drop older versions on this. So if you're on 7 ESXi, you recommended to stay on this one until you moved up to 8 and then basically put in the new management pack of that. From the SCOM perspective, we're supporting to 2016 and later. So as Microsoft works on newer SCOM versions and brings them out, they will be supported. So we are Microsoft partners in many years. So you rest assured that's definitely fine. Also, we are a TAP partner of Broadcom, and for the Broadcom partner program, we obtained the early releases. So we also have done that for the 9 release. Although things have changed more from the product structure in 9, the underlying APIs and so are still all tested and verified. So that is fully supported. So, but now it's time for a live demo actually. So let's have a look at the new product. All right, so I will go a bit through the whole list of products, so of the whole views we have. So here on the left side, so there's a new folder. So this is called VMware vSphere. It was in the past NiCE VMware, so but we have decided to rename. It has a new entire namespace. So all the views have a bit of a different naming, but in general they should be identifiable. So just a root folder here is now called VMware vSphere. That indicates basically that is the version 6. Here you have a number of dashboard views. So first we have the clusters. So we have a number of clusters in here, which gives an overview, and all the monitoring is attached to that cluster. Then we have the cluster performance here with a number of dashboards and the cluster performance counters for each of those ones. So if we select one, we can actually see the hosts that are part of this clusters, and we can get the graphs here into that overview. Next, we have the clusters with vSAN as well. So we have the vSAN health in here, and the health group of the vSAN part, which has been added here. So that is typically also all under monitoring. the data centers. So we have like a number of data centers with different vCenters. So we have 3 vCenters currently, which one has 2 data centers in there. So and that is basically all then added here to the data center view. If on the data center view we would pick one of the data centers and open, for example, a diagram view, then we would basically get all the objects which are underneath that. Now currently obviously grouped because there are so many of that. But they will actually give you here the information of all the different. This, for example, is a snapshot here. If you click on that, you see this is a virtual machine snapshot that belongs to this server, which is called the virtual machine, which is called SCOM. So this is a SCOM server. Looks like this is a snapshot before it was AD joined, and then we also have further information here for the snapshot. So it has a description, it has a timestamp, and it also states when it was basically taken here, so to say. So it gives that information. There's another snapshot here as well, which also gives that information. So again, this is the diagram view, and it is attached to the data center. So from here, basically, you have the full drill down. Data stores are here as well. So we have a number of data stores. Obviously, the key thing you want to monitor with the data store is your IOPS performance and your capacity. So here, all the information is in here. So we have the configuration, the performance, and so on. So that all flows into this here. Next, we have performance views here. So this one is probably one of the most important ones. So the I/O per seconds on a specific data store where you can see this data here, and then obviously the provisioned or the use space here for that as well. And that also gives you that overview of the use space. So if the use space hits 100%, obviously your data store is full, but that by that time you have already received an alert. Okay, let's go a bit down for the ESXi hosts. So the ESXi hosts are all yellow, and that has a reason. So let's look at this. So in general, the ESXi hosts look all healthy, but there are a lot of monitors. So let's open one of those here, but looks at, for example, for the security part here. So in the security, we actually do monitor new monitors that were not there in the earlier version. That has to do with the monitoring we added for basically security enabled monitoring. So, and we mentioned, for example, let's see, for example, here, this one. These are configuration things that are recommended to configure on the ESXi host. And for if, for example, you have the SNMP service enabled, then this is considered as an issue. Or if you have unsigned software on the host, it will also alert you in that case. So this is the overview of the security monitoring of the host. Also, the hosts have a large number of performance data here. You see it's a long list. Some of this view might be empty. In this case, the rule is not enabled. As you know, we have added these views, but if the data isn't there, you will need to go and enable the collection of the data. So, but basic monitors around CPU and also memory, they're always here and give a good indication. We have the network and sensor data. So for data that goes through the network here, for example, then temperatures, and we also have the host storage detail for the host storage if you're using that to have it added to the host. Networks, we do distributed switches and the standard switches and the host port states. We have this covered here. You can also do the monitoring here. And then last but not least, we go into the virtual machine area where we have all the different virtual machines on here that are discovered. And if we open one for them example here, so we actually see, open this, so we have a virtual machine that is red. That state is propagated from the vCenter, and it gives information details here. For example, we see it loses a lot of CPU. So we see the CPU is at 100% right now. So if you want to see the details on that, we can obviously, as usual, open the performance view here, we'll get the CPU. That should be the CPU. Let's just check CPU usage. It's at 100%. So, and it's, I think, a test system where we have this already since a couple of days at 100%. So, which causes this alert here where the data comes on. And for memory utilization, we see we have a larger number of other information on here. So the memory information is also then right in here. All right, so we have something added like the folders. So if folders are defined, you can get them, have them discovered and get a quick overview. Especially helps if you're using a dashboarding software to bring this on. Then we have the virtual center as such. So for example, this virtual center we can open. So we have this as a root component, and all the monitoring is built upon the virtual center. We have also the you see the services discovered. So that comes through a different API. I quickly want to show you, like, let's, for example, go and say, well, here I'm logged into the virtual center appliance. I have the services, and I'll actually, let me stop one of the services here to actually introduce a problem. So we have an archiver, so we can stop the archiver, because if I stop the wrong one, this will cause problems. Okay, so I stopped this. Okay, so I hope I can still hear. I had to switch the headset. So let's go back and see here if the alert comes up. So again, this is polling, so this will take a couple of minutes to come up and display. We'll just get back to that in a moment. So in general, in this monitoring, there should be everything in that you used to and know for monitoring. We have something called vMotion migrations that has been improved. So in the case of vSphere HA, things are moving from right to left in a cluster. So that is a more detailed view that has been added. So quickly go to the active alerts, so and see what's been coming in here for the last one. So we actually see right now the vCenter service not running. Actually just came in, which indicates that the Postgres archiver is not running and stopped. So that just came in, gives a critical alert. I will go right back and start that up again. So, so let's see where we have that stop state. So here's the archiver. So I'm going to start this again. So it will start, and then we should see this go away in a moment as well. Yeah, here this is an overview. Most of the alerts you see here are due to security configuration, as mentioned, because the host have SSH enabled or something like that, which should be deactivated basically. But in the end, that is configuration. If you don't want to see this, just simply disable the monitors, which is actually a good point to actually show you a bit on this monitor. So if I open this one, there is for every monitor options to override this. Most of them you should be familiar with. So there's the enabled, there's the generate, there's the refresh time, which is 10 minutes. We have a match count basically, which gives you the option to eliminate spikes. For this one, probably doesn't make much sense, but if you have a CPU monitor and want to only alert it if like it matched like 3 times, basically went over 30 minutes on, then you can enable that one here. So and the other should be pretty self-explanatory here. Closing this again, so I'm checking if the alert went away. So yeah, it went already away. So it's been closed. All right. There is event-based monitoring as well. So some of the monitors and alerts that come in are triggered by events that come in from vSphere. So that happens behind the scenes a bit, because there are rules that capture that, or monitors that also evaluate the incoming events. If there anything that you can also look on the VMware events view, where you could see that. So that's a first overview of the functionality. So it's pretty much as before, plus more basically. What really has changes under the hood with all the new things in the architecture and how we have been building things. Okay, now there's a catch. So the catch is, as we have changed everything, there's no in-place upgrade possible. So this is obviously a hard one because we had thought about this, but it's simply not possible because we had to change the entire class structure and the dependencies. You have to know that the previous version was developed first in 2009, where there was simply no vMotion. So, and because of that, the relations between the classes were differently created. So, to reflect now all these new functionalities, we had to change that class model. So, and for those of you who are requiring the performance data and require to keep the existing, there's the side-by-side migration possible. So you can basically use both versions 5 and 6 next to each other. There are some considerations you want to do with that, because obviously there's additional resource usages involved, but they're completely separate. So 5 and 6 basically are like two independent management packs for VMware monitoring, and they don't get to integrate each other, except there obviously you have a higher workflow count, and if you require migration on that, you can also ask us and we can give you some hints on that. Further, as this is different from the architecture, we recommend to test this. We've been testing this basically for 2 years now. We have released the 6.0 version to a number of customers. So this is already running in larger environments at customers. So and it's been still we recommend that you, as with all products and software, you go through a testing environment to put this in, because every environment behaves different. And the fourth point on this list here is that for the estimation tool, it's key because we have seen that most issues we run in are based on the sizing. So with this, cost, the sizing isn't done right, then we run into issues with that. And last but not least, we have included a number of unsealed management packs. So for tuning and customization. So obviously you have done customization to your environment, and we can help you basically to translate that from 5 to 6, which is possible. So you can basically give us your override management pack, and we moved into 6. So we have a mapping table between the monitors from 5 to 6. So we can actually compare and prepare the management pack overrides for that. So you have the same thresholds, the same as on and off and disabled as you have in the previous version. However, it's not like rolling immediately from 5 to 6, as there's no in-place upgrade possible. So that's the big downside of this. But I actually want to do a quick walk through how you actually configure the new management pack. So for this, I'm actually switching to another environment. Well, this is where just the management pack is imported. So we'll do a little walkthrough. So after you import the management pack, obviously this folder is empty. So how do I get all the good stuff in here now? First, you will actually go to the administration area, and this is where basically you have like a new view, which is called VMware vCenters. So this is where you do the onboarding, and you have the Add vCenter Connection Wizard, which I'm starting now. And here we actually go next, and we actually first select the resource pool. You can create your own resource pool. We basically deliver a standard resource pool, but you can use that. So it will actually see what members you have added to the resource pool. There are 2 which are added, and both can be used, so to say. Next, we have a logging for the onboarding. You can enable, I'll leave it disabled for now. And now you can actually add the vCenter monitoring to this. And I'm just going to do this. So basically putting into the vCenter, and you can select a different display name. We'll use the local administrator and a password for that. So here we basically have just a connection test just to make sure everything works, because what we have figured out that in many cases customers are not sure if the firewalls are open. So this is it's an on-demand test probe that runs to verify the connections there. So we see also we have a VMware on there, and we add this basically here. So, and that was created. Now we can go next. So here we actually have to associate it to run as account. So because the account we just were putting in there was only for testing, the actual credentials for the connection are stored in a run as account and assigned to a profile. So in this case, I already have this prepared, so I can actually use this right away. So I have a reader only account because, well, if you do monitoring, a read only is sufficient, so you don't need more. And then you can actually go and finish this one here. So this one basically already creates in the background the base objects. So like basically the vCenter object and the data center object. So this basically runs in the background, and we'll just leave it running until the is completed. So this one is the typical check. In our case, it's already distributed in case you're using the more secure account features, but we can close it now. So so here we actually already see that the vCenter is discovered. It has 2 data centers. There are a couple of more configuration options you can do here. So, so you can discover new data centers, because if new data centers is added, you need to manually add them. Or you can distribute data centers. So we have, like, for example, 2 data centers, and we could distribute them across different resource pools now for load balancing. So basically creating a new resource pool, placing a management server pair into that, and assigning this data center to that resource pool, which will basically shift the workload from those first management resource pool into the other resource pool. So it allows you that entire resource balancing. Further, you can also go in here and update details on that virtual center, enable tracing and others. And then you also have the filter option. So see. So here we have something called a discovery filter. So we can pick your specific data center, or we can pick all data center. Again, this acts on a data center, so you can pick some hosts and exclude hosts. You can work on sensors, virtual machines, vSAN health groups, or also vSAN health tests. So currently, the discovery isn't complete, so it's not part of this, but you could actually then add them and do the configuration of the entire filtering right in here. And once you save and apply, those hosts will be actually removed from the monitoring and not be part of it anymore. So as this is in here, we can go back to the monitoring, and we should also see in the data center views, the data center is already in here. So this is basically when the discovery will start. And the discovery, as I said, is event-based. So it will first do an inventory run, and after the inventory run, ESXi host, and later also the virtual machines will be added. So it might be not, well, also takes a while to that add, but it will come in, flow in the data into the SCOM environment and in here. All right, so this is basically the onboarding process, which is pretty straightforward. I skipped a bit the configuration of the run as account, so I can go quickly back and say, well, you have an account you have to create. So this is basically the basic authentication account you create here for the vCenter account, and then you assign it to a profile. So this one here, and this one, the vCenter monitoring account, and then it basically is assigned here. So you might wonder why there are some other objects like from NiCE VMware. This is exactly where you have the side-by-side scenario, because in the same environment, we also do have the previous version, the version 5 of the VMware management pack here, this one available. So which also is here and does the same monitoring or similar monitoring as the new management pack. It's really supported and tested side by side. However, again, it's a challenge eventually with the number of workflows that are running and the resource usage. But again, that depends a bit on your configuration and your planning using this management pack. All right, so with that, let me go back to the slides. I have a few more slides to cover. Okay, let's see. First, we came from this one for the upgrade process, and let's look a bit ahead. So we have released now today, actually, the vSphere Management Pack 6.1. So the management pack is available on the portal. So for all existing customers on the call, you can actually log into the NiCE customer portal and download the management pack plus the licensings for it and all the documentation as well. So that is available as of today. We are continuing to work to improve, and there will be pretty soon in the beginning of next year already a follow-up version, which has to do that we have to do some further performance improvements on some ends, which has especially to do with the number of performance data we collect. Then reporting is limited in here, so if you have a reporting requirement, we can give you a reporting package as well, but we plan to update that. The admin UI, which you have seen, will have some further updates, especially in the filtering for usability, because it's a new component. So, and we have already received feedback from our customers that there are some updates, update wishes in that to make it a bit smoother, so to say. So that will come. The last item on the roadmap here is the API alignments. The API is a large and a tricky one, and it keeps changing. We constantly have to adjust and improve our SDK and our client that we are connecting to make sure everything is compatible and running. So we'll do some alignments in there as well. So there are no major changes, but we are also looking a bit forward to the customers that are upgrading to 6.1. So if there are requests, then we are happy to accommodate them and bring them in. There's one thing that is not part of 6.1. I also want to mention this, which is right here, which are vSphere tasks. Right now, tasks are unlikely, like in 5, not available in 6. So you might know that you were able to do snapshots right from the SCOM console. It has been used in one or the other cases, especially in smaller environments, but that is something currently not in there because of the threat handling in the background, we would have need to start different threads for that. So the current model is not equipped for that. So we're adding a separate part for that to handling tasks. But as mentioned, that's not currently in the 6.1 version. So if you require those and have a smaller environment or environment that you're happy with the 5.8 version, you can stay on that and just continue to use the tasks. All right, so I think so that's it. So there are further features we plan to add because the vSphere Cloud Foundation edition that has additional products in there, additional features. So we might pick some of the features and bring them into the management pack as well. All right. Okay, so like now is a good time. If you have any questions, please use the Q&A area and bring up some questions, so to say, and happy also to answer them here. So let me see if there is a question. Okay, there's one question. So on the license structure, no. The question is, has the license structure been changed? No, the license structure is still the same. We just have the key difference. So the key is now locked to the management group and not the management server anymore. So that means in the customer portal for our customers, they would need to reactivate or activate the 6.1 licenses in the portal and download them with the management group name. So that is the one of the changes that has to be done with this new version. Okay, there's one question on the sizing, like what are the limitations? How many virtual machines can be run per SCOM management server? Yeah, that's a bit of your mileage may vary questions or answers. So typically we can go up to 1,500 VMs per SCOM server. The limitation is not from us, it's basically a SCOM limitation on the number of workflows. So if you, for example, say, I have 3,000 VMs, but I'm not really interested in monitoring everything for these 3,000 VMs, you can also bring them all on one management server. Or some customers say, well, I actually don't need to discover virtual machines or only specific virtual machines. I filter everything out except those one I need. Then obviously this is a bit different. So, but again, this also depends on how powerful your management server is and your database. So it's a bit tricky to answer, but there's a rule of thumb with 1,500, 1,600 virtual machines. It also depends if you monitor lots of sensors on your ESXi port. For that is actually what we included, the infrastructure estimation tool. And maybe if we have a few minutes left and want to give some others to ask the question, I can also show that infrastructure estimation tool still. Okay, so the infrastructure estimation tool is basically something. It's a separate installer. You can also download it. It's in the same directory. You can download it. It's placed here in tools, and you can just call it from here, and it will ask you basically again the virtual center host name. So we'll just use the same one as before. And well, it tells you, well, it's too old, we can't use it here in this environment. Okay, thank you for that. So I'll actually need to learn environment. So actually I've got that obviously. So I'm just going to go here. I think it's on, no, it's there where it's supposed to be when it's installed. So let me see, it's on, let's go there. So there we go. No. Okay, it's not installed here, so I will just bring it across from the other system. It's going to be a bit tricky now to demo this, but let's give it a short try. So we can just grab basically this tool and bring it over to the other environment. Okay, we'll copy it over the network onto the system here. And bring it in here. All right, okay. So now I need to get the right system here for that. So here it already establishes the connection. So and when it has the connection established, it will actually give that information out here. So I just need to hope I find now the login credentials for this. Just need to go. And I think that's why it gets stuck. Okay. Well, and it worked. So here we go. So this basically shows the details when it connects actually, and it gives you the exact count. It also lets you know how many licenses you need. So in this case, one license is basically required to monitor this environment. So
So gives you back to the question basically here where we had how is the estimation best done. So use this tool and then you can follow the onboarding. So I've got in the meantime some additional questions in here. Good afternoon. In version 6 of this management, the alerts for snapshot on VMs do not display VM names in description of the alert. Is this changed in version 6.1? Well, let's check actually. So so I don't know. So we can exactly check the name of that. So the VMs do not display the VM name in the description. So let's go to check to the virtual machine snapshots. So we should be on this one. Let's go. There is a state view for the snapshots. Here we go. And here is the description. So we have the virtual machine in here. We have added this one here, but not everywhere, I think. It doesn't have all. So that's a good point. So all going to take it up because we do not this. I think what is meant is this description should contain basically also the name of the no, the alert name. Let's actually check the alert name. Sorry for that. So the alert name. Not sure if alerting is enabled actually. I would need to check because I think it shows the alert at the snapshots, but it doesn't say no, the alerting is right now disabled, so it will not generate out an alert, but we can check on this one here. So the virtual machine, so we have two actually. There's a size and an age monitor. So assuming we're looking at the age monitor, and we can go for the alerting, and we have the age in here, and but for this one we have only one parameter in there, but I think this alerting here we will need to add the name. That's what the specs is. So it's currently not in here, so we'll can add that for an upcoming release. Thank you for the question. There's another one. If you have two management servers in a resource pool, are the SCOM workloads balanced between the management servers, or is this second just standby? This depends on the number of data centers, actually. So if you have more than one data center, yes, then it's balanced. If you have just one data center, it's not balanced. So this is because we build basically the threads upon the data centers. So that is basically the key to do that. Okay, so we're actually soon out of time. So I thank you all for staying on here and listen to the webinar. So again, if you have questions, you can send them later or contact our support. So and with that, I thank you again and wish you a good rest of your day, and stay tuned for more news to come. Thank you and goodbye.